This is the Lyndsay Stafford Show.
All right, welcome back to the Lyndsay Stafford Show. We are in our series right now featuring local legends here in Middle Tennessee, and I am excited to showcase my guest today, who is, in fact, a local legend, Mike Mercurio with Stephen & Associates. And we're going to dig into some strategy around financial planning and what he does, but also dig into the history and, of course, talk about the journey. So listen in as we share his journey through developing his business. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And you've got your own show, so you're a pro and you record in the same studio.
I do.
What's your show called?
It's called the Ales and Tales Podcast.
The Ales and Tales Podcast.
Has nothing to do with anything I do outside in business, but yeah.
But it's fun.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a good way to not think about what I think about all day long, every other day.
Sure. And it's recorded in the same studio by the it'syourshow.co. Jim McCarthy's the producer. He's fantastic. Well, very excited to have you here today.
Well, thanks. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm thrilled to be called a legend. That's new. That's just a fun feeling to be called.
You know, I think when we don't give ourselves enough credit, when you have built a business, and there's a saying, I've said this many times, but if you can go to lunch with your spouse or take time out of your day to go do something with your kids. I was just saying on Tuesday, I took a half day and went shopping with my kiddos. You're successful as a business owner if you can do that. And you are a legend.
I get to take time off to come do this, which is awesome.
There you go.
So.
On a Friday, this is what we're doing. Sitting in the
right.
podcast studio. We usually see each other on Wednesdays at our BNI group. Another plug for BNI. It's been such a great resource. Well, tell us a little bit about your business.
So we are a macroeconomic financial advisory firm. We have offices here on Music Row in Nashville, Tennessee, and we have an office in Palm Beach, Florida. The firm has been around for 30. We're going to be entering 31st year.
Wow.
So a good amount of time. I have a couple of business partners. The Stephen & Associates started with Dan Stephen, the principal of our firm. He's the senior partner. I'm the vice president of Stephen & Associates, helping grow the firm and grow business and make sure we do things right.
Awesome. Tell us how you got into what you're doing now.
Yeah, well, we all go through life with making decisions with the information we have available, right? And that doesn't mean we have all the information. It just means we have what's been given to us or what we've researched and whatnot. I was a finance manager in the auto industry for a good number of years and was fortunate enough and blessed enough to have amassed enough in assets to want to do something with it. But that was the only world I really knew. And I knew the things that people go through looking at credit reports and seeing and helping them solve, debt and whatnot so that they could buy cars and everything else. But I wanted to do more. I wanted to learn more so that I could expand our personal wealth. And I was introduced to Dan Stephen, and we sat down and talked. And first conversation absolutely blew my mind. You don't know what you don't know until you know you don't know it. Changed my life drastically as a client. And I'm a sponge for financial stuff. It's just what I love doing. I like puzzles, and he saw that and he said, why don't you need to do this? So we sat down, had a conversation, and agreed that I do need to do this. And that was a very good amount of years back now. So I love it.
And that was all in the first conversation you had with him?
That was after 3.
Oh, okay, so it wasn't the first time.
The first meeting, it was just my eyes were opened to so much, and then starting to work through the process that we have clients walk through. I just got to see so much and got to understand it. And so my wife and I are very different. Opposites attract, they say, and whatnot. And not everybody's minds work the same. Again, I'm a sponge for that kind of stuff. That's not her interest. So that's cool. And, during some of those meetings, she'd go, what does he mean by that? And I'd say, well, this. And, I was good at interpreting it in a way that made sense. But yeah, just fascinated by it.
So you love it, but you also, and that's a gift to be able to communicate to someone who is not as educated. There's a lot to learn about in the financial industry, a lot of things to be educated on.
A few moving parts.
You can't possibly know everything, which is a great reason to have a team because you can all be great at what you're great at, right? And then collaborate together. But to be able to communicate that is really powerful.
I love analogies. It's funny because Dan and I are very different also. He's not an analogy mind, and I am. I love trying to paint a picture to help people understand it. He and I just operate differently, which is great for clients because, it just depends. And as you say, we can't be a specialist in all things, right? So having a team where you have different people that are great at that thing I think is extremely important. If I try to do everything myself, it is not going to turn out great.
Right.
But if I can have a strong team that I can make sure we're all on the same page, have the same morals, the same values, and do the right things, as long as they're specialized in it and follow those rules, everything goes out great.
You know, I'm reading a book by Patrick Lencioni, and I forget what it's called, but he's got great books. And he's actually, rumor is moving an office down to downtown Franklin, so he'll be here. But great author, a lot of great business books. He tells stories through fables. A lot of this one is not a fable, but it's about building a team. Talk to me and listeners, for those folks who are interested in owning a business or starting a business, what are some of the foundations that you have for your team?
Well, first and foremost, as far as I'm concerned, proper values, morals, values, making sure not everybody's in business for the same thing. Some people love money. Okay. Some people will do whatever it takes to get that. I don't think that's a good mindset. So when I say that, I think values are extremely important. I think strong belief that you can help others and you should help others and you'll be taken care of is the right way to do it. And having that as a core vision is key. Having a core mission. What is our mission? Our goal is to accomplish giving givers more to give. If there's somebody who likes to do more for others, I want to do more for them because in essence, they'll be able to go do even more. We're multiplying. So have a core vision of what you want and make sure that other people are in line with that.
Yeah, I love that. I've led a lot of people through my years and led a lot of teams. And when I was in corporate, I didn't always get to choose who my team, what I walked into.
Yep.
You just kind of get what you walk into, and sometimes you have to change the culture by changing the people. But I found very similarly I generally operate my team in my business with three main foundational principles of do the right thing even when it's hard. You just do the right thing. The customer has to come first. The client's needs come first, even when it's hard, even if that means it's hard for you. And to do your best work, even when it's hard, because it's hard to not be your best, but then you need to pause and come back when you can be your best. And so those things, I find, if you can operate with integrity as the main foundation, which is just what you're saying, right? Do the right thing, help people, put people first. It weeds a lot of people out. They choose to leave themselves when you kind of say, this is what we stand for. And they also choose not to come in when they can feel that it's like, oh, this place is too much about people. I just want to talk about the bottom line, right?
Yeah.
Have you had to ever kind of experience somebody not fitting with your culture?
Yeah. It's happened a couple times. You know, you have to watch out for salesmen. And I don't mean this in the fact that sales is bad. I mean this in the fact that sometimes people will sell you on a belief that isn't their actual belief. And you have to make sure that to verify it over time, right? And see what's going on, be aware, and just realize, okay, this isn't lining up with what you said. This isn't lining up with what we were doing. So we need to correct this. And if you find that they're unable to or unwilling to correct that, then that's not the good fit. You know, nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody can sidetrack themselves a little bit. So you got to, give opportunity, but just also understand that there's a time to pull the plug.
Right.
What you said is something that I've said for years, which I think is extremely important. It's not hard to do the right thing. It's just easier not to. I think a lot of people like the easy route. A company literally came out with a button and sold it for profit, which amazes me. Which is an easy button, and it accomplished nothing except for their bottom line. Yeah. Right? So I think that's funny.
True. It is funny. I thought that was such a stupid thing. Why does anyone need that? What is that actually going to do?
Everybody wants an easy button, and those who bought it wanted an easy button. It didn't accomplish anything, but it sounds nice. It makes it feel like there's a way to do that. Yeah. But yeah, the reality is good things don't normally come easily, and that which creates and does more normally takes more effort. And you have to look for that in yourself and in others and in what you do. I think that's extremely, extremely important.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was thinking about the culture shift and the culture when you're trying to build a culture, right? It's kind of front of my mind right now. I've had some changes on my team and in business, and just creating a culture is so critical to success of a business. And I spent 20 years in the retail world. I never once, as a leader, had to fire somebody. Isn't that crazy? Well, hold on. Never had to fire somebody for performance, because I was always able to have a conversation like, are you feeling like this is working out? You know? And I find that communication, if you can just communicate effectively and remove emotions and have a good conversation, usually can accomplish what you're trying to get to. When you think about communication with you, your team, your clients, talk to me about what you found for communication in terms of what's most important, what works.
Being open, being willing to say what's on your mind in a respectful and reasonable way, but to make sure that information is given. I work in the field of information, financial information, but also psychological information, emotional information. I'm dealing with emotion constantly with clients because money creates emotion. Decisions are made by emotion, which is not what should happen. So being able to have all of that on the table, then you can actually make informed decisions, right? I ask people all the time, what decision should you make in life without all the proper information? There's no such thing, right? So if I'm withholding information about how I feel about something, what I see about something, and if somebody else is doing that, we're not on the same page and things aren't going to go the way they should. A decision is being made without all that information.
Sure.
So I think that's key. Being able to have open dialogue, open conversation. Everybody should always feel wanted, appreciated. I think that's extremely important. There's a lot of thankless jobs in the world, and I don't think that's necessarily good. I think people should be able to feel good about what they do,
right?
But also be able to be accepting of information that may be a critique of what they're doing so that they can improve, and know that be able to convey in a way that a critique is not to put anybody down, but to give opportunity to improve. Right. A critique is something that says, well, there's a challenge here. How do we now overcome it? Do you want to overcome it by yourself? Do you want to overcome it together and work through that?
Feedback is a gift, but when you are given feedback, the human reaction is to kind of go
defense mode.
Wait, what? I didn't do that. I don't do that. Right? That's the human reaction. And you have to work really hard to overcome that, to say, I'm going to be open to feedback and I'm going to take it as a gift. It's also equally important to the delivery of the feedback, right?
It helps.
But it is super important to be open to feedback and open to the dialogue and conversation. I want to talk a little bit about how you grew your business, but I also want to talk through the challenges that you've had along the way, because when you make the decision to go out on your own, even if it's with a partner or partners, you're still making that decision to build something from the ground up. And you're not starting with, this is your starting salary, this is what's coming with it. That's not how it works when you start your own business. And that alone keeps so many people from taking that leap of faith to get there. I have a friend who's really intelligent. She's amazing. And as much as I know what she could do outside of her job, she doesn't see it. And every time something's been presented, I'm like, just see the opportunity. I know what you are capable of, right? And it's so hard to see it in somebody else and have them not see it. But there are people that are ready or trying or want to, but don't know how to get there and make that leap of faith. So talk to us a little bit about the challenges you had along the way as you were making that decision.
Yeah, well, there was no salary. There was support in the form of knowledge and information, which is great. And again, if I had not had Dan doing that, it's something that could have been done by doing research and finding that out. And find resources for yourself, I think, are key. Again, you can't do everything. You can't be a specialist at everything. So have good resources. Have good support. You know, if you do not feel supported as a person or supported in being able to do something to take yourself to a different level, I would start there. You want to make sure that you have strong support, and you have to have a belief, in yourself. You have to have confidence, but also others that have that confidence in you as well. And being able to feel that helps. Confidence is key to so much. I am not normally an outgoing, super talkative person. That's not my thing. I had to overcome that. If I go to a group of people, a networking event or a party or something like that, I'm normally the guy that sits back and watches. I like taking in information rather than giving it. So I'll sit and watch. It takes a long time for me to warm up and actually do that. So I've had to overcome that, being confident in the fact that just step outside your comfort zone and you're not going to fall flat on your face. You're going to learn something. You're going to learn a way to do it better next time. You're going to learn better approaches. You're going to learn a better method. You're going to learn a lot about yourself. I think that's big.
Yeah.
But have confidence that things will work out. It doesn't mean it's going to work out the way you want it to. It means it's going to work out. You know, if you have faith in yourself, faith in God, have confidence that things will go okay, you can take that next step and know that whatever that step is, it may not be perfect, but it's going to be moving in the right direction.
Right. You brought a couple of points up that I want to pull out of there. One is do your research, right? So I think anyone who's jumping into a business, don't just jump in. You have to like take the time to kind of know what you're walking into, right? So be informed enough that you can make an educated decision and be confident in the decision that you're making. And I always say you have to believe in 4 things to be good in your business. 1 is the product that you sell. 2 is the industry that you're in. 3 is the company that you represent. And 4 is yourself. And usually that last one is the one that people struggle with, is the belief in themselves that they can do it. And you brought up having the support system surrounding you. And as an entrepreneur myself, I can say there are different circles in life of friends, of people that you surround yourself with. And when you stray from the norm of what everybody else is doing, which is typically, graduate college, get a job, work that system, climb the ladder, it's uncomfortable for those people around you because you're not doing what's normal to them, what's expected.
You're not validating them.
Correct.
Everybody wants validation.
You're
to some
challenging
degree.
them. And when you do that, you have to stop and take a look and say, these people are not going to serve me during this journey because they do not support what I'm doing. You don't have to agree with it, but they have to support you, right? And that's a hard part. Did you have to lose people in your life through your journey?
Fortunately, no, not in that regard. I've been very fortunate to have a great core group of friends, family that have always believed in me, which is truly a blessing. So no, not really. I've had people challenge me on it, which is good. I like being challenged because I want to understand why that comes about. What causes that? Why do you think that way? Let me look internally. Very important to look internally and make sure that you're on the path that you're supposed to be on, the vision, the mission, et cetera. So I think that's key. But unfortunately, no, I really haven't.
That's a beautiful blessing to have, where everyone around you supports, and perhaps maybe you have some great people, but also the field of financial planning. Sometimes people don't think of that as a rogue business idea.
It's not. Well, when they sit down and talk with me, and I start looking through their things, there's challenges.
I bet
it's going to be very different from what they're taught and what they believe, and what the bag of goods, the bill of goods they've been sold, which is totally inaccurate. They don't have all the information, so it makes sense. And when you bring extra information to people that challenges their beliefs and what they currently have done, now they're not being validated, and now they're starting to question it. And the first reaction is to go, "No, I've done it right." And
it's that defense mechanism that jumps up right away.
So that is definitely common. I deal with a lot of emotion. People going, "Well, I've always heard this, and I've always been taught this." I'm like, "Well, that's great. Let's actually research it and have the proper information." And when it's provided, either they'll think differently or they will, they'll flee. They're just not willing to put up with it.
Sure. What are some of the things that you get pushed on in that when you're giving somebody information? What are some of the misbeliefs that you see consistently?
Well, I think the number one misbelief that I see is the fact that everybody, even if they're a W-2 employee of somebody else, they don't realize that they are a business. They think that it's kind of like the movie The Matrix. I've used this example a few times with people, but if you've ever seen the movie The Matrix, everybody is a battery for this system. And everybody who is an employee feels like, the financial world, I have to do what they say to do in this specific way and understand that and they just end up being a battery. when the reality is they are their own business. They are their own machine, and they can take advantage of things in the financial world to better themselves, but it's different than what they're taught. Well, why are they taught what they're taught? Well, it's because it benefits the other machine, not themselves, right? So we have to change that mindset, and I think that's huge. I may have gotten off the topic on that, but that's
no. I think that's fair, and I think there's such a lack of education in the financial industry at a young age, right? I always say I support education. I don't like the way our school system is structured because kids are taught what to think, not how to think, and they aren't taught the things that we need. I made an apron in home ec in 7th grade. I think my mom still has it, actually. I'm going to have to bring it on the show. But the home ec classes and things like that, that's not necessarily taught. I'll tell you something. I think you'll get a kick out of this. My daughter was doing, this may have been last year or the year before. She's a junior at Page, and she has great teachers. And, I have fabulous things to say about the school. I'm, nothing against the school or the teachers there. But she was taking a financial class, and they had her do her budget for when she was an adult. And she was, working through it with me, and they said, your car payment. And I said, you can put 0 because you're not going to have a car payment. Your car is going to be paid for. And she said, her teacher was like, well, that's not realistic. You can't say you won't have a car payment. She's like, yes, I can, because I'm not going to have one. Right. And my point is that's not what we should be teaching kids. That's what you assume you're going to have. Student loans, all this debt, that's just going to be what you take on. But that's what the world teaches.
Well, the teacher was teaching from a cookie cutter perspective.
Correct.
Which is what most things are. Most people fall into the cookie cutter trap. And that's, unfortunately, it's not reality. It's really not reality in the financial world. Mm-hmm. Everybody is entirely different. There's drastic differences from one family to the next, or one individual to the next, or a business owner to the next. But they're sold this cookie cutter bill of goods. No, that's not realistic. It's exactly this way. You have to fill out the budget exactly this way because it's the same for every person. Nope, not true. Not true at all. But it's hard, and it takes more effort to individualize for each person. And in that class, it was much easier for the teacher to just cookie cutter for everybody, and this is what it is. And when something was different than that, she wasn't, or he or whatever the teacher was, could not handle that. They were able to go, oh, different information.
Yeah, right. It doesn't have to be that way, right? It doesn't have to be that way.
It must conform.
Yes, that is what it is. That's what I feel as though that is truly what we see. I want to go back to something you said earlier, which is be confident. When we talked about what to do to just get started on your business, right? Be confident. And confidence breeds competence. But to get confident, you have to do it. And that means you have to, I say this all the time, my kids make fun of me, but do it ugly. The first time you do something, you're not going to be great, most likely. You might have a beginner's luck on an occasion, but I go back to just riding a bicycle. Very few people are able to get on that bike and ride. You fall down many times, you skin your knees, you get bruises, you get cuts, you get back up, and you keep doing it again. And you do it ugly over and over again until it's not ugly. And then even still, you're probably wobbly. I think if I got on rollerblades, we'd see that happen again. These days, back from childhood, it was easier. But to be confident, you have to take time to learn the skill that you're trying to accomplish, right? So, what advice do you have? Because I can say the same kind of thing. But what advice do you have for somebody who's trying to gain confidence, but it's like I don't have any because I don't believe in myself. I haven't done it.
You're either going to form bad habits or good habits. I think fear is given to us to keep us from accomplishing things. So overcome it. Either overcome it or conform to it. And that's your option. That's really it. I mean, you're going to form a bad habit, and the bad habit is going, well, I can't do that, so I'm not going to do it. The good habit is, I don't know how to do it fully. I may not be successful, but I believe in myself and my ability to overcome.
Right. And even if you don't quite believe in yourself yet, but you're like, it's in there somewhere.
It comes from, look at anything else you've done in life. If you were not successful at some things, you would be a boneless puddle of mush on the ground.
Right.
You would never have accomplished anything. Everybody has accomplished different things in life. And again, that's why there are specialists in different areas. Some are better at this and some are better at that. Some just really wanted to do that, so they got good at it because damn the consequences, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to have a reasonable outlook on yourself and what you're capable of doing. And if it's something that you're not good at, well, what do you do? Give up or do it? Phone calls, like years and years ago before I got into the world I'm in now, the financial world, when I was in the auto industry, you had to cold call. I was not a fan of calling anybody cold because I didn't like it. I wouldn't like it if I got it, and didn't want to do it. And it did not benefit me to not do it. I had to do it. So I did it a few times, and I got used to the things that people would say that were not good. And I got used to the things that would get people to be more positive and the way I would say it. And I got better and better and better until the point where I was perfectly fine at it and perfectly okay with it.
But you had to do it ugly.
I still don't like it, and I don't cold call people. But I got to the point where I was good enough at it and confident at it because I had created and developed competence at it. But it took time and effort and failure and sitting back and figuring out how to fix that, how to improve it.
Right.
You have to be willing to overcome challenges and solve problems. And if you can't solve the problem, find people who have solved it, speak with them, figure out how they've solved it, or find people who can help you solve it.
Yeah, that was going to be my next thing too about confidence. So much of confidence comes from, it's got to come from within. But as you build your confidence, or as you try to build your confidence, you have to find people that are going to support you, which we talked about earlier. But you also have to find people that have done it before, mentors, to mentor you in that field that you're trying to get better at.
Or even another field. Because if you're trying to do something unique and nobody has really done it the way you've done it before, that's great. Or if you're doing something entirely different, or a new product, or a new business opportunity, or an idea, concept, whatever it may be, find people who have just overcome challenge. And they'll help you, if they're giving people, they'll help you figure out how to do that, or help you with at least information about how they did it. Find you a person that doesn't like talking about themselves in the grand scheme of the world. If you find somebody that's willing to, who's been successful, you can get them to talk about that.
Yeah, typically. And, maybe you don't have someone in your life that is there in person as a mentor, but the world we live in today, there are a million resources online to find a coach or a mentor or somebody online, but resources. I know as in my 20s and 30s and kind of developing my entrepreneur skills and just leadership skills, podcasts and books have been partners of mine for a very, very long time. Mm-hmm. I've learned so much from people that have impacted me that I'll probably never meet, and they'll never know the impact they have. But there's always a way if there's a will. There's always a way to learn the skill or the trade that you're trying to learn if you decide that you're going to go find it instead of make excuses, right? Okay, I want to shift gears for just a minute because I want you to talk to us a little bit about the financial world. And we kind of talked about this prior to the podcast, that there's so many people that don't have the education on how to prepare for their future. And it's just not taught in the traditional education system. And maybe if you don't have a family that's teaching you or a mentor that's teaching you, you just don't know. What are some of the basic things that you can give away for free? And can you tell everybody real quick, where do we find you, just so we have that? How do we find you?
So sandawealth.com. It looks like Sanda instead of Santa. www.sandawealth.com. Michael at sandawealth.com. Gladly email me. I'll be glad to respond and talk with anybody and answer any questions I can. Those are the two best places.
Perfect.
Yeah. Unless you want to talk about beer, which is my podcast. But that's
then go to Ales and Whales. What is it?
The Ales and... That's what happens if you drink too much beer. The Ales and Tales podcast.
I do want to be clear. I have not. I don't even know. Actually, I don't drink beer. I'm gluten-free, so I haven't probably had beer in 20 years, probably. Ales and Tales.
The Ales and Tales, but yeah.
Okay.
But you don't need to find me there. It's okay. Okay, so free information, what should they do? Well, first and foremost, know that if you're doing things to create a future for yourself and it's not in the financial industry, then you are a specialist somewhere else. You need to find somebody who is a specialist in that industry. It's like going to a doctor. You want to make sure that you're healthy to be able to accomplish what you want to accomplish in life. Your financial well-being is the same thing. I mean, you're trying to build for yourself first, and then for your spouse and your family later, and then for possibly legacy even later. But then this happens with maturity as time goes on. Very rarely do you find a 26-year-old who's like looking towards, 70s. That's just
I have
happen.
a couple that I've had on the podcast that have blown me away, but
It's rare. That's why it blows
very
you
rare,
away.
right?
It's
Yeah.
extremely rare. If I could get a whole bunch of 26-year-olds or 25-year-olds anywhere in that general range who are focused on long-term future, they are gonna just destroy it. It'd be amazing, but it's so rare to find because you're still focused more often, not everybody, more often focused on self and the short term, right? The long term is way out there. First, don't fall prey to the I can't talk to anybody until I have money belief.
Yes.
So many people, I'm not going to pick on the financial industry too much, but there's a lot of people who are just asset gatherers or asset managers. And all that is when you have money, come to me. If you have a certain amount of money, I'll be willing to talk with you. And once we talk to you, what's your risk tolerance, which means loss, by the way, to be clear. How much are you willing to put aside and not put elsewhere? And sign here, there's no guarantees. We're going to put it in the market, and that's that. Okay, that's a tool. That's a thing to do, but that's not the big picture. The big picture is having an understanding of what does it look like to be able to save? Where should you save? Where's the first best place money should go? What is that? And it's not a cookie cutter. It's different for every person.
Right.
Everybody who enters the workforce, if you are a W-2, the first thing you're going to end up having is you're going to be opted in automatically to a 401k. Okay. Is that the right thing for you? If you don't have any liquidity and savings and you're locking money away where you can't touch it, probably not the first best place money should go. It's a tool. You can use the tool, but maybe not yet, right? A roofer isn't putting a roof on something that hasn't been built. If there's no house, the roofer is not working yet. You have to have the right thing at the right time. Save money. It's the simplest, easiest, quickest thing to build your safety net, your opportunity fund, the quickest and easiest way to build confidence that you're not broke all the time. And the quickest way to keep you out of debt is to figure out ways to save money. Just build liquidity. If you have money, then you can do things.
Right.
If you don't have money, that means somebody else has your money.
So for someone who has, and I love that your first point, I love that that's the point you made, because I run into that a lot as I'm coaching and guiding people, where it's like we end up talking about finances, and I'll ask a question about like, well, what do you do? Do you have somebody you're working with? Do you have an advisor? And no, and I know that that's the barrier for a lot of people is I don't have a lot to save. So I don't want to talk to anybody until I reach that point. And to be fair, a lot of financial advisors will say, I don't work with anyone unless you have this much already. Right. I struggle with that because I don't agree with that philosophy with anything. If somebody needs help and you're good at it, I feel like you should help them within, what you can handle. So I love that you started with that. And the first step is really just to find somebody. And so they can call you, right? If somebody's listening to the show and they're like, I don't know where to start, but I clearly know I need to start. You're a great place to start.
100%.
Even with nothing, because you can at least create a game plan.
Right. If you talk to somebody and the first thing they want is your money, run. If they care about you, the first thing they should want to know about is you. What's going on with you? What's going on with your world? What's going on with your system? How is it operating? What do you need? What do you want? What do you care about? What do you love? What do you do? What do you want to accomplish? Start there. If they start with money, I have an issue with that, because the money will come. Our world is based on you having some form of currency, whatever that may be, whether it changes to all digital, whether it's crypto, I hope not. But anyway, whatever it happens to be, that will come. What needs to be done is having a proper process put in place for you, right? There was no basketball player that was immediately great. There was no tennis player that was immediately great. What happened was they started off and started on a process to learn how to be better at it and how to grow at it, and had coaches along the way to make sure that they stayed on the proper path. And if things change drastically in their lives, then change the process to still get to that ultimate goal. Right. So start with caring about yourself first and knowing that you can improve yourself, but use people who are there as resources to do it, and find somebody who's willing to be part of that.
So the no excuses if you're listening to this and you don't have somebody, because we just had a resource tell us, I don't care how much money you have, I'll work with you, I'll help you, I'll get you started. So I love that about how you operate. Mike. So the second part you talked about was save money, save something. Gosh, that's so hard for people to save because the more our income grows, the more we grow our desires to have more, do more, maybe give more.
Hopefully.
What's the first step you say to someone who's struggling with just the art of, because there are like natural born savers and just spenders.
Well, there's different, you're either a good saver or a good spender. Yeah. Very rarely can you have both, right? One of the biggest issues I see is that, as you say, it's a lifestyle creep, right? As income increases, the first thing we want to do is treat ourselves, and then we get used to that as a new standard, and then it keeps going. But if income ever drops, nobody ever wants to drop lifestyle. And I've run into a lot of people who have been wealthy or who even are still wealthy, but not to the degree that they thought they were going to be or to the degree that they were at one time. And I see it across the board in income levels. It doesn't matter whether you're multimillionaire or whether you're just starting off. I see that happen with everybody. That is a
lifestyle creep is true.
It is a funny problem that you see across the board. So that's something to solve. The first thing is, if you're not saving money, is it because you can't, or is it because you won't? Are you unwilling to give up things that you don't need? If you're unwilling to give up things you don't need, well, there's your issue. You are the issue. It's not the saving issue. It's the fact that you're not looking at things in a long-term perspective. And again, that can be different for everybody. Sometimes if you just can't save and you just aren't making enough, and again, we understand inflation. I think everybody understands inflation now. We've talked about it forever in our firm, but it's hard to get people to see it as easily as they have in the last few years at 9% inflation and 10% inflation.
Right.
But sometimes under certain environments, you just can't save. Okay, that's a real thing. Start looking at where you can make things more efficient in your life if possible. And look at ways to earn more income is about the only thing. That's really it. If you're in a position where you've broken it down to where there's nothing left to give away, just to give up on and just live the basic life, okay, then you're doing what you can. But that shouldn't stay that way, right? You should be moving forward. In most cases, it's lifestyle creep, and people are unwilling to not treat themselves. And you should be able to enjoy yourself. I'm never going to tell people don't spend money. My job is ultimately to tell them, look, congratulations, you can now enjoy more lifestyle. You can do more. That's what I want to create for people. But sometimes, again, that we have to understand that's a long-term perspective. It doesn't mean you can do that every single day. It may not mean you can do it right this second. Do the right things first, and then you can build to that. But making it a good habit, that's key, right? Start doing it in some form or fashion. Well, this could go to this bad habit I have, or this could go to something I don't need. One of the most interesting things I'm running into lately and have in the last couple of years is we are a subscription society.
Oh my gosh.
We did not used to be. We used to be a balance the checkbook society. You actually saw what was going out, what was coming in all the time right there, and you could look at it. Well, that went away. Almost nobody has a checkbook anymore.
Right. My mom does.
I still do. And
I have checks, but I don't balance the checkbook.
Well, fortunately, we have digital ways to do it if you trust that that's going to work right. And it should. It should. But it's always, at least you have the way to do it yourself if you wanted to. But understanding, I run into people that have had subscriptions to things that they haven't touched in years. But it's out of sight, out of mind. Know what's going on in your financial system. Do a cash flow analysis. It's one sheet of paper. I can get you a single sheet of paper that you can do a cash flow analysis on, which is a budget, and see what's going out, what's coming in. You have the resources to find out what that is, whether it's on a credit card statement, a bank statement, whatever it is, but go through it and actually care about what you're doing and pay attention to it, because everybody else is planning on the fact that you're not going to care and you're not going to pay attention to it, and that benefits them. If you want to benefit them first, that's fine, but it's not going to benefit you. You have to choose.
Yeah, right. You got to. I found this thing on Capital. We use Capital One for everything. For so long, I was like just debit cards, and my husband was like, "Lyndsay, like we need to take advantage of the rewards for having credit cards." So we like Capital One for business and then also for personal. They have a neat feature, and here's a little plug for Capital One. And we've got a guy that can hook you up. So if you are a business and you need a Capital One credit card, message me. I can hook you up with a guy who'll take care of you. Corbin Woods from our BNI group, but they show at the top of if you log into the your app or whatever, it'll show you the things that are reoccurring. So you can go, what is that? Are we using that? But I think you're right. It just goes in the background and don't even pay attention anymore.
Yeah, it's the greatest business tool ever created was the ability to get people to get used to money coming out and not think about it, pay zero attention to it, because you're not going to stop unless you pay attention to what's going on in your life. Why stop?
And the world is busy and moving so fast, and it's so loud that you don't stop. So you just, how much money just gets tossed aside for that. And you probably can help people find money, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah.
When they meet with you, it's like, well, let's look at what you're doing. We can find, there is found money. And, I know we got to let you get out of here, but I will say selling things on Poshmark and Facebook Marketplace. And I always say to somebody when they need, go look at what's in your house. I guarantee you, if you spend an afternoon finding stuff that you don't use anymore, you can go make some money selling it. It's the online garage, what's it called? Garage sale? Yeah, garage sale. I almost said garage store. There's a store called Garage in the Cool Springs Mall. But the online garage sale, go find something in your house and sell it. So you've got resources if people are looking to start a budget or to start just exploring, maybe making smarter financial decisions. And there's no shame wherever you're at. Just start. It's never too late to start.
Correct.
Well, it might be too late, but it's better late than never.
It's better the early. Okay, there's no sooner than now, right? So the sooner the better. But yeah, I mean, we have clients that have come to us and have finally decided to start looking at things because they realized it wasn't going their way in their 50s and in their 60s, which is later. It's later than it should be, but it's still better than not doing it at all.
Right.
So there's always, I've yet to find somebody I can't improve.
And if you work with business owners too, correct? So if somebody owns a business and that has part of their plan, you can help them with that too.
I love working with business owners because first and foremost, they're so busy running their business that they aren't looking at themselves. There's this thing in life where if you look at like auto mechanics, their cars are normally in the worst shape because they're doing it all day long for somebody else. They don't want to deal with it for themselves.
Yeah.
Nurses often do not eat well and take care of themselves the way they should because they're too busy taking care of others. Business owners are so busy trying to create the business and keep the business going, and especially if they're in their early years, but even later on, trying to build it to the next level, and that's where the focus is. Or the focus is, okay, I finally gotten here. It's time to do nothing but spend the money and enjoy vacation and not. But there's very rarely the time spent on focusing on what needs to be focused on.
Sure.
If I can help a business owner get themselves adjusted, I know that it's going to pour into their business and ultimately into their employees because as they learn things, they're going to implement things differently. They're going to show the people they care about that are helping make them successful the same things. So I'm helping more people by helping one person than helping each individual person. So I absolutely love working with business
And that
owners.
just goes back to what we talked about in the beginning, which is just help people.
Give givers more to give.
Yes. Givers give. Givers gain. That's what we say at BNI. Mike, thank you for coming today. Thanks for being a part of this. I know you had some great sharings here today. Hopefully our listeners were able to take something from it. And, I just want to reiterate the fact that if you are interested in learning more, find Mike on one of those platforms, and we'll see you next time.